Good morning, Wayne. We will see you right here at this desk a little earlier today at 11 Eastern because we're off the air a little earlier than usual at 11:30 Eastern. But right now, I say good morning. Well, I think it's good morning to lifelong Laker lover Keyshawn Johnson. Is it a good morning for you? Or
it is. It feels
an okay morning?
Yeah, no, it feels great. Skip, it feels like a little bit of a Monday because our last couple of days we've been at home. So, you know, I got a little Monday in me.
Do you? Well, that's probably a good thing. Good morning, Rachel, to you.
He'll be alert.
Okay, Rachel really knows the Lakers. I think she knows the Lakers even better than Keyshawn knows the Lakers. So
I spend more time with them. I'll say that.
So, of course, we start with the Lakers. This has been rumored for so long that it almost feels like old news. JJ Redick finally, officially hired to replace Darvin Ham 7 weeks after Ham was fired. So, Keyshawn, now that you've had plenty of time to let this one sink in, do you like this hire?
I think if fine is such a word to describe the hire, it's fine.
Is that damning with faint praise?
No, it's fine. Look, was he their first option? No. We all know he was not their first option. He was an option, and then whatever they went through to make this decision, they made the decision that he was the right hire at this time for where they want to go. The Lakers have been down this road before. Many people aren't even thinking about this. Remember 2017? They hired an unknown guy in the front office named Rob Pelinka. All he was an agent of Kobe Bryant for the most part. That was his big, he worked with Arn Tellem, but his big claim to fame was he was a sports agent with no experience in the front office. It's a different experience when I look at data sheets and scouting reports or who's going to go where in the draft. That's how an agent looks at players. They don't go looking at a player and say, oh, I'm going to find the diamond in the rough. He's going to be the greatest guy in the world playing basketball. It's different as a general manager. Now, with his tenure as a general manager for the Lakers, what would you say? You would say he's done pretty good. I mean, when they've gotten into trouble, he's gotten them out of trouble, right? For the most part. They won the bubble. You were there, Rachel. But he's made in-season trades to get them over the hump. All those sorts of things. So they know the process. Now they go out and hire a guy who was 15 years in the NBA. 15 years in the NBA. No,
I actually have 17 seasons that he played in. It's a long time. It's a long time. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so you got a guy 17 years in the NBA with no coaching experience at all, enough playing experience that could potentially carry over into the coaching circle for him. Okay. Now, when you think about it, what are they going to do? Who are they going to hire? Are they going to go get all these veteran ex-head coaches that are going to kind of help him out along the way? Is he going to have the sole voice in the locker room as a coach, or does he have to really lean on these guys in a learning process with LeBron James and only, 2 to 3 years left in his NBA career before he starts to say, I don't want to play anymore. I'm done. I want to go do other things in life. Because when you look at where the Lakers are or where they were, Phil Jackson was the last coach to win 50-plus games outside of Frank Vogel. It took them all the way to get to Frank Vogel to get to 50-plus games. You go back to Phil Jackson, that was the last time before Frank Vogel. I mean, that's a long time. Then that was in the many people like you, Skip, would say, Mickey Mouse, whatever it was, they won a championship. But then they wind up firing the guy who won the championship. And then wind up firing the guy who took them to the Western Conference Final, which in a 3-year span, it's just like, what are we doing? So now we got to give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's see where it goes. Let's see the staff they put together. Let's see what happens in free agency at the end of this month. All of those I don't care about the draft. The free agency is most important. What are they going to do to build around JJ Redick to get him to be successful in this short window that's left for LeBron James? And then you asked me that question, what do I think about the hire at that point in time? And I could give you a different type of answer.
So right now you're just sort of...
I'm fine. Whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, whatever.
Whatever.
Let's just see what it is. That's not like, this isn't Pat Riley coming. This is not Phil Jackson coming. This is not, it's not Rudy coming. It's just...
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
You just damned your team with faint praise, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that may be true, but I'm sure I'm not the only person.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think you are, because this is a very, very difficult thing to be certain on. It is just such a huge gamble. The metaphor in my head is, say you've got a guy who was a waiter at a restaurant, then he went on to be a food critic, very respected, very good. He's suddenly hired to be the head chef, even though he's never worked in a kitchen before. Is that going to work? Maybe it becomes the hottest restaurant in town. Maybe it's closed in a month. There is literally no way to know. We can project, we can say, oh, JJ has this in his favor, is this against him? But we won't know until he actually does it, because he's never done it before. And that's where the Lakers have sort of made an interesting choice here. They've made this huge gamble on their 7th head coach in 13 years, 8th if you count that they had an interim head coach for 4 or 5 months. So this is a point where, as you guys just showed with all those head coaches that they fired, can they afford to be taking another gamble that in a year might completely blow up in their faces? They've done it. So it's pretty interesting that this hire and this chance has come at this time. And even JJ, if he was going to be honest with you, would be very surprised, because I want to underline what I'm talking about here with some of JJ's social media. There was a tweet, it was like a little bit more than a year ago. It was in response to the idea that JJ on his podcast had been rallying for Nikola Jokic instead of Joel Embiid for MVP. And this fan out there was like, hey, JJ, you know, Embiid made you a lot of money. You should be thankful. Without Embiid, you would just be coaching middle school right now. And JJ's response was amazing. He said, I'm actually coaching 8- and 9-year-olds right now. I'm hoping to move up to middle school in 3 to 5 years. That was a year and change ago. Oh. So, in fact, not 3 to 5 years, in a year and change, he is now the head coach of the Lakers, much less middle school. And it's jarring when you see the photos of him with the team he has coached in the past, because that's not LeBron James there. So again, how much of a gamble we are talking about has to be factored into any analysis of this hire.
Who's he talking to here?
I assume his son. I don't know.
Is that Austin Rivers or something?
Yeah. Okay. I continue to hear that this move is high risk but high reward. And I got to tell you, I get high risk because it's the highest risk. I don't get high reward because how can you know? This move is completely unknowable at this point because you have no track record to go on whatsoever. Even we just watched Joe Mazzulla win a championship at age 35. And you pointed out, well, they just picked like the 4th assistant down the row.
They did.
And said, here, you come up and do this out of emergency, obviously, because they had the Ime situation they had to remedy. And yet I look at Joe Mazzulla's background. For 2 years, he was the head coach at Fairmont State in West Virginia. And for a year, he was a couple of years, he was assistant on the Celtics G League team. So he had quite a background of growth and education, and he had been a head coach, and Fairmont State was 43-17 in the 2 years he coached. My point is, he'd done this before. He knew what it felt like to run a game, even a small college basketball game. JJ Redick only played basketball, and he was a pretty good player for a very long time. He was only a part-time starter. He started about half the games he played in the NBA. He started for the Clippers out here for Doc for 4 years, and then he went to Philly and did start for that year. So he has 5 years of starting experience. But was he considered as a player a dynamic leader as a player? No, not really. He was kind of a role player. He was a three-point shooter and a great three-point shooter, but not a team leader, not a point guard. So often you project the point guard to be a head coach. And yet, I look at what happened. You know, I keep hearing that JJ has, extraordinary basketball IQ. Well, I'll buy that from listening to their podcast. We know, we hear him talk on TV. But help me out here. Higher IQ than Steve Nash? I doubt it, because Steve Nash it's way up there. Trust me. And he was a back-to-back MVP and was a dynamic leader of the Phoenix Suns. And then what happened? When he got his first shot with no coaching experience, again, he got thrown into a really difficult situation with some really difficult to handle superstars that he was trying to juggle, and it flamed quickly out. So that would indicate, well, this might not work. But I have no idea. All I know is when we talk about building a staff, the truth is the lead assistant right now for the Los Angeles Lakers is LeBron James. And I keep harking back to Byron Scott. You had him on your podcast. We had him on this show, sitting right there in Rachel's seat. And what was the first thing he said about the Lakers situation? And he wasn't kidding. He's actually
tongue in cheek.
Yeah. But he was a little bitter about it because he doesn't like to see head coaches done wrong, and he thought Darvin Ham had been done wrong.
100%.
Right?
No, when you look at it now on its face,
yeah,
I kind of feel the same way.
Yeah.
Like when I look at it, you know, now that JJ is officially hired,
exactly.
You look at it and you go, wait a minute, man, you had a dude.
Wait a minute, man. I'm with you on that. But Byron was saying, well, LeBron should just go ahead and coach it. Well, I think he has a chance to be sort of a player coach because he and JJ obviously are close from the podcast and they have good connection on the podcast. I don't know how close they are off the field or off the floor, but at least they have a pretty deep connection.